Right. We look at the 85 generations. Yeah. 48.
Angelina said, oh, it's today that somebody said, oh, she got a week. So I thought she pretty much. You tell me when you're ready to go, Chad.
Not quite.
Okay. That's fine. I'm gonna pretend I have a gavel.
Oh, I know where that is.
You know where that is. Gary, we're short a couple people up here. Would you like to come up and join us?
You know, I'd rather do. I'm sitting back here, I'm nervous.
Oh, that's the email. You got it. So John and Eric should both be there on Zoom.
Actually, I found out the last fire station because he was sitting. So that's how I know.
I came to the fire station meeting the other night at the council, he was sitting right over there and I was like, I guess he go in.
Yeah, he was watching changes.
There's years, but I did.
Hi, Russ. How you doing? Good.
And you had your news on.
But, and what is with the red chair? What has happened? We've never had a red chair in here before. I don't know.
What is throw the bones, what is that work in?
I don't know.
What country is this?
Okay, so we got Garrett, John, Eric.
3 hour blocks
About
about
to
each
be-
every day.
That's why I ride my bike and climb hills.
Well, it seems like it'd be difficult.
Okay, there's
Eric.
Okay, there's Chad, there's us.
How many land use attorneys?
And there's someone on the phone, right?
Looks like, yep.
Okay, are you ready? Yeah.
It's hard time.
Okay.
It's really good.
All right. It's 6:04, we're starting late, sorry about that. I called to order the Gearhart Planning Commission on June 12th. The commissioners are all here in person or on Zoom. And Chad is here to represent the city. Chad, would you like to say something before we start the agenda, please?
Yeah, I just took a phone call about an hour ago and Peter Watts, our attorney, has passed away. I don't have any details at the moment. He was in his office in Weston, and some people are calling it maybe a heart attack, but so yeah, that's fairly fresh. I don't have any other information. I'll keep you updated as I know more. And the city will work through that situation here and figure out the best way to move forward without he's a great guy. Great guy.
Okay. Thank you. We will miss Peter for his input and things that he brought to certainly planning commission. Moving ahead, we have a consent agenda with minutes from May 8th. We have the financial report of May 29th. And even though it says correspondence, none, we do have correspondence from Terry Graff. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I have corrections to
Yeah,
minutes.
oh, you have corrections. Did you send them to Angelina or the,
I did send them to her, yes.
okay, are they significant?
Only 2 are significant, and they're not real significant. There were a lot of pronoun things, but there was a misspelling of Representative Vance's name on page 9, and the other is on the top of page 7. It looks like there was a repeat of the motion made by Russ. First, it says he made a motion that was seconded by John, and then the second paragraph that after that says that Russ made a motion seconded by John. And I don't know if that's a repeat or if there's, that probably needs to get cleared up.
We had one motion, then we had an amendment. And then we had to go back to the motion, so we had to repeat those words again.
The amendment comes after that.
Oh, we know what we did. Okay,
I'll ask Angelina to go.
Yeah, ask Angelina, because
Page
I'm-
7.
I didn't see a problem myself, but maybe you see it, yeah.
I don't know.
No, I just didn't see it myself. Okay, with the corrections that, have been, sent to Angelina, do I have a motion then to accept the consent agenda?
Moved.
Okay, Don has moved, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Russ. Okay, all those in favor, excuse me, accepting the consent agenda as presented with the corrections to the minutes, say aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry, okay. And John and Eric, I apologize, I always forget people are there on Zoom, but I will try to keep you in the conversation.
Okay.
All right, reports from staff,
Nothing to report. It's fine.
nothing to report.
No, other than just, of course, be careful when you're replying to emails. Not to use the reply all when you're getting something from staff or one another, to try to keep the reply back, just back to staff. And then we can organize communication for you as well. So I've just been noticing a little bit of that lately. So just keep an eye on it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have anything to report today?
I do not.
Nope. Okay, are there any visitor comments that are not related to the agenda? I hear nothing. Okay, we'll move on here. We're moving through the agenda nicely. Public hearings, we don't have anything. Unfinished business, we have nothing. New business, we have nothing. We have information discussion. I do not know, is Garrett leading the discussion on this or is Chad leading the discussion?
I would hope that you would hear from Garrett more than me, as he
Okay.
is definitely better versed in some of this, but I'd be happy to help him out. Garrett, are you okay? Talk about those?
Okay, so
Yep.
Garrett, would you like to address the floating zone amendment process?
Sure. So there was a rezone that occurred several years ago in ordinance 860. I think it was in 2012, kind of at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. This is over 10 years ago, actually, that rezoned some residential and commercial land near City Hall to park and open space. And the ordinance and land use action there created what we call a floating zone, which is basically available zoning that otherwise would not be available for the downtown area. So as you know, in our comprehensive plan, we have policies that discourage conversion of residential property to commercial property. There's other policies that put some boundaries on what kinds of commercial development are supported in Gearhart. But because there was this commercial zoning in the downtown area, 5,000 square feet of it that was converted to park and open space, this ordinance 860 created 5,000 square feet of available commercial zoning to be applied somewhere in the future. And some interested property owners approached the city about being able to use this and potentially apply for a rezoning on their property. And so we went back and got out the ordinance, worked with Peter, Chad, Angelina, and I all communicating closely on it, and verified that yes, this is something that we can do. We also determined that because there's only 5,000 square feet of C1 zoning available in downtown for anyone to convert to, that we need to sort of give everyone a chance to apply and not just invite an application from someone who approached us about it and have you take action on that. And so we have received a complete application from the original property owner that approached us. And we also issued a public notice to notify the other property owners that they had the opportunity to apply. And I don't think that we've gotten any other applications. We did get a number of inquiries from people asking Angelina questions, but I don't think anyone chose to apply. I would have to double check with her to say that with 100% certainty. So the deadline to submit an application was June 9th. And we're planning on presenting you with that one application at July hearing for you all to make a recommendation on. And like all rezoning actions, that's a city council decision that is based on your recommendation. So our hope would be to have a hearing with you all in July, and if you're ready to close the hearing and make your recommendation, we'd go to city council in August there. And so we'll send you the complete application and our staff report as soon as we're ready. And just because that's a bit of an unconventional series of steps that we're going through in the lead up to a rezone, just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to it before next month. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about the floating zone amendment process. I guess because I put this in information and discussion as a distinct item instead of in staff updates, I'll just pause and see if you want to discuss that or have any questions for me.
Garrett, I forgot to get your staff report. I'm sorry. Did you have?
I didn't submit, I have not submitted staff reports on any of these items.
Okay, but did you have anything
information and
else?
discussion.
Did you have anything else to report today? I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Under staff reports, did you have anything else?
I would have told you, yeah, that city council took up the flood hazard overlay zone amendments in their June meeting last week and decided to just hold off on the whole thing for one more month and not recommend adoption of any of it quite yet. So we're going to sit tight for a little longer, but otherwise, your recommendation was clear enough that it's time to, at least by July, move ahead with the basic flood hazard reduction provisions that everyone else already has throughout Oregon. So by July, we'll be doing that. That's the only other thing I would have added to the introductory sort of staff discussion there. Yeah.
I apologize. I just totally
okay.
forgot you. I apologize.
That's okay.
Does anyone have questions for him about the floating zone? We're going to discuss this in July. Anything just for clarification, what he said tonight? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Where is the property? You said it's near City Hall?
I can show you on a map if you'd like, Garrett. I can.
Yeah, and so when I said it was near City Hall, I was referring to the property that was rezoned in 2011, the action that created the floating zone.
Where is
it's all pretty close to City Hall, right, downtown.
I think the question, now Gary's small. I think the question was, I know that it has to be contiguous to that's the right word, to the current C1 zone. I think you're being asked, where's the property that these people are applying for, the application is for? Or can you not tell us that?
That's what Chad's doing right now.
I know,
yeah,
he's playing.
No, he's gonna.
We can do that now. I don't want to get into the details too much because we should leave all the fact finding to the hearing itself. But the property is located
right here. This is located. So this is where the C1 zone came from.
Right.
It was in the middle of the park. It was
Right.
attached to Pacific Way Cafe, and that was the 5,000 square feet. Yeah, sorry, Garrett, you can continue.
No, you're right. You're right on there, Chad.
And then the piece of property they're looking to apply it to is somewhere within this piece here where it has a non-conforming area, this is R2 zone currently. That holds the septic system for the old sweet shop, now known
Okay.
as Daughters.
Okay.
And I think they would like to apply the 5,000 square foot somewhere up into this area. So they can continue to use that open area for the restaurant. As they can now, they can continue to do that. Because it's non-conforming. And it was being used well before the ordinance was changed. They would like to clean that up, I think.
Thank you. You're done.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Moving on, we have the GZO inconsistencies and clarifications amendment process. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, so this is in some prior meetings in the last 6 months or so, y'all have talked about, before I started working for City of Gearhart, you had made some amendments to the zoning ordinance to address some areas where there was a lack of clarity or conflict between provisions that were, perhaps in the same paragraph or right next to each other. And in the last few years, since I've been working for y'all, I have been cataloging some other areas that seem like they could use some work, and it's not something that has to happen now. But I wanted to let you know that it's something that I'm keeping track of, and there are I think some basic opportunities to clear things up in a way that would save staff some time, where we end up having to have phone call meetings to interpret things together. And if and when you think the time is right, I can bring my list to you, and I think Chad has some ideas on this as well, and we can talk about whether you want to work on it at all. So it's just to let you know that if we see sort of a column in the schedule, or if this has been on any of your all's minds and you think there's some areas that could use improvement, just for clarity and internal consistency, we can sort of catalog some of those and set up a process and some goals for how we'd address it in a concise, limited number of meetings that doesn't drag on for too long kind of way, where we have an improvement on our hands after a few months, perhaps. And I'm happy to bring my list back anytime with you. So that's all I wanted to say there.
Okay. And
Well, I would just soon have it printed out and delivered to us before we discuss anything.
right.
I agree.
But, okay, would we want to have it sooner, later? Do we want Garrett to continue to find inconsistencies and think about that in the fall? What is that?
2025,
2025, no, we are in 2025.
later in the year.
Okay. Anyone?
I just want to,
Eric?
yeah, I just like to say I support the idea. I think we need to clean up that document, and I appreciate Garrett bringing it forward. And I think we should just, depending on our work schedule for other things, whenever we see a month that seems like there's room in the schedule, we should start the process and then just do it. Because if we don't do it, we'll never do it. So we just have to commit ourselves to going forwards and creating a process where we can clean that document up, because I think it needs to be done.
Okay, so Garrett, I don't know, but how many things are in the works? So we don't know, but certainly, you could start us out with the list, we could at least take our time and look up the. Different things, because we have all that information and the stuff we were given when we first came on the planning commission and if there's something major. I know that Carol kind of, when there was a major thing or when an issue forced it to our attention. Is when we went and looked at those kind of things. I don't have a time, I don't think we really have a timeline for you.
Absolutely. I'll bring it back. I'll propose it as an information item when I see that we don't have a very busy meeting. And
Okay.
the intention wouldn't be to like dive into discussing solutions right away for any given piece of code. It would just be for you to see some examples of what I'm talking about and decide if you want to talk about it again and work on it, because we could, any one of us could read through the document and find hundreds of places where something's not quite clear to us. And that's not the purpose of what I'm bringing up. It's really to just identify some of these areas where that have actually come up. And that's an indicator that they've come up in our development reviews in the last 3 years. And that's an indicator that, it's actually in a part of the code that we use a lot. It's taking up staff time. Let's see if there's something we can improve here. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good work. Thank you. All right, last thing we have on the discussion is pickleball. Terry, you are so eager to talk.
These chairs are hard to sit on.
Well, I offered you a soft chair. Gearhart, how would you like to handle this? Should we let Terry talk first, or do you want to talk first, or not let Terry talk?
So I'm not gonna, I'll just offer a couple of ideas off the bat that I just want to help frame your thinking a little bit, and then I'm not gonna necessarily like respond to Terry's arguments one way or the other. That's totally up to you how you want to proceed. But just want to let you know that right now, pickleball is not like a listed use that's permitted or not permitted anywhere in our zoning ordinance, and neither is any other kind of particular sport, right? So neither is basketball or baseball or any other sport, and it is valid, though, and some cities have done it, to identify particular sports and regulate them through either their nuisance ordinance, not as a land use matter, or through their zoning and land use ordinances. And a city can not do either of those things, or they could do both of them, or either one. And it's all within the authority of a city, promoting, the public welfare. And it's up to you guys. And it's up to the city council. And we'll work with you on whatever you want to do, and come up and give you examples of what other people have done, or we can leave things the way they are. So.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Yes, John.
Just one quick question, Gearhart, as you reviewed this, have you found pickleball specific ordinances in other cities?
I know that there are some, and I'm like not recalling their particular city names right now, but yes, cities have dealt with pickleball through their zoning ordinances.
So if we need to find some examples, you can find them for us.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Terry, we received your letter. If you would like to stand, please state your name and your address, and I will give you a few minutes to talk.
Well, Terry Brown, 302 South Ocean, Gearhart, Oregon, 97138. And I've already submitted a letter, and I assume.
We have the letter.
Yeah, so that's part of the record. And I don't believe that pickleball belongs in an R1. It's in the park, there's a tennis court, that's not R1. R1, you have 5-foot setbacks, and people are out on their decks enjoying their martini at 5 o'clock. But anyway, I request that the planning commission do whatever necessary to move forward to make pickleball a prohibited use in an R1 district. I think you have overwhelming support from the community for that. The last time pickleball came before you, they had 2 courts. There were like 70 people who wrote letters, 20 people or more showed up to speak. And I think there would be very little, if any, opposition, and it would be overwhelming. And the last thing I want to say is the way of getting ahead of the curve. There are a lot of lots, double lots in Gearhart, maybe 20, I don't know, I haven't counted them, where somebody could go and stick in a pickleball court in the future. So I think it's wise to get ahead of the game at the time. And I respectfully request that you do whatever necessary to set it in motion and get it done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. They have not done anything yet. Is that correct, Terry? The people that own the property there in the tennis court, they have not done any actual pickleball courting yet.
Well, what happened, I was walking down Ocean, there's an abandoned tennis court there, we've been here for 30 years, I've never seen anybody in the house or anywhere near the place, and somebody was out working on the tennis court, and I went up and said, what are you doing? He said, well, we're putting in pickleball courts. And that's when the red flag went up that they were gonna put in pickleball courts.
Does the tennis court belong to the house that's right there?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And I've never, 30 years, I've never seen a person there. And the tennis court was all run down, the fence was falling down, it's just been abandoned.
okay. All right, so, we could, what would? I need some input, folks.
I'll start. I've never seen anybody playing tennis there either, Terry, in the 23 years I've been here. My concern isn't so much about a pickleball court, because I could just imagine, let's just say kids going out to the tennis court and hitting a pickleball. You know, so is that what we're talking about, not allowing? I mean, we gotta go over there and say, hey, kids, that's the wrong ball to play. You know, if they're talking about putting in courts, that means striping it differently or whatever. Striping doesn't bother me at all, but I do understand having regular occurrences that across the street from you would be super annoying. I think we could maybe put something in an ordinance or recommended ordinance that says no pickleball courts in R1 zone. But at the same time, again, some kids come out and start playing pickleball. I mean, or somebody gonna go over there and rattle the fence or?
Could I address that?
Sure.
Right behind us, there's a vacant lot that's owned by the Grahams. And this is when we were on South Marion. And they had a basketball hoop there, they had grandchildren, and we would be out back, they would be playing, knocking balls around, they'd be playing basketball, they'd be playing badminton. That's no problem whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So if some kids are out on there and they're batting a pickleball around, that's a lot different than striping it and having what's going on at the park.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I'm not here to shut down kids playing, shooting baskets and that, but pickleball doesn't belong next door.
Like an official designated pickleball area, I think is what I hear us discussing. Besides that, I mean, we do have pickleball and tennis courts just half a block from there, which has been allowed. And if we don't do anything about that, I think ultimately comes down just like a neighbor to neighbor issue of really discussing what's an appropriate time and place for that, so. I want it right now.
Gentlemen, you want?
Well, and it seems, from what you've written, obviously the main problem is noise. And how long it lasts. I mean, if a homeowner owns an individual pickleball court, or even a basketball how often is it gonna be used? That's a lot different than having 2 or 4 or 8 of them in a public park, where the entire public is of pickleball players are gonna gather. So basically, you're talking about one family use, as long as they don't charge admission and say every pickleball player that can't get on at the public court is welcome to come here. So I have a hard time supporting it. At least as of yet, because you don't know what the volume of use is gonna be. There's a sport court on North Ocean. I frequently go by there on my bicycle. I've never seen anybody using that sport court. And I think it's got a lineup for a pickleball or some kind of ball and net game along with a basketball hoop. I've never seen anybody use it. Right, not very far from where the tennis court is, there used to be a Young Life place. They had kids playing volleyball all weekend. Now, I could hear them several blocks away. It seems to me, rather than prohibiting an activity, maybe if there's any regulation at all, it should be through a noise ordinance. If the noise reaches a certain level of decibels, then you can do something about it. That may cause an enforcement problem. And I guess arguably that would wipe out fireworks on the 4th of July too, but just barring a homeowner from using their property for a certain activity, I have a hard time going to that, because a swimming pool, kids in it could do that too. Unless you know how much it is, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Not that I like the noise of pickleball, I don't, but.
Could I address what he said? You said.
Because I'm running a very relaxed meeting.
Yes, you didn't know how often it'd be used. The pickleball person is like a guy who owns a truck. All of a sudden, he has lots and lots of friends. So if you have a pickleball court, I won't say trust me, but I believe it would be used a lot. And pickleball is different than a basketball. We do that. And you said he owns the property, he should be able to do whatever he wants with it. I agree with that, with the exception, as long as he doesn't interfere with the ability for his neighbor to enjoy his property. If you're gonna put something on your property that takes away the enjoyment of your neighbor, I can't do that. If I wanna put a tannery next door to my property, on my property next door to you, I don't think you would like that.
So presumably, that's
So
what
you
I was
just-
talking about recreation.
And the noise issue, I talked to Chad about whether you could use the noise ordinance, and he said that doesn't work, because that's a decibel thing. Pickleball is different, it's repetitive, it's ping, 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 ping. So, anyway.
So it's playing music at a party.
Okay, so this discussion, Terry just brought up the issue, so let's discuss amongst ourselves, don't put Terry on the spot here. But you,
Okay, Terry,
Yeah.
I think we should, put it into R1. I mean, when we had the courts at the downtown water treatment plant, we had a huge kerfuffle over that. It had been a tennis court for decades before people started playing pickleball, and it's been a basketball court for the same number of years it was a tennis court. So I just think I think we need to either, because there's such a public outcry against the pickleball noise, and when we had that meeting about the downtown courts, it was blocks to the north, blocks to the south, it was a pretty broad circumference of people complaining about it. And I just think if we put it in the ordinance now, nobody's built a pickleball court yet. And it's in the ordinance, and then they can turn it into a tennis court or put up a hoop, and nobody's upset. That's my opinion.
did you have something?
I'm was wondering if it'd be possible to hold a public hearing without having a definite offering, like to say, are we going to be able to do this you're shaking your head, no. We have to have a definite offering. Okay.
We have to have something to base the public hearing on. We have to have, do you have another idea?
Wish I did.
Okay, all right. John or Eric, did you have anything you'd like to say on this issue? Eric, your hand is up.
Thanks, Jenny. So I was thinking also about the noise and the nuisance ordinance part of that. So Chad, I looked for a noise ordinance. I looked on the city website through the documents and such. I looked through our zoning ordinance. So I don't see a noise ordinance. Do we have one, and where does somebody find that?
Yes, we have a noise ordinance, it's in the municipal code.
Okay,
And it was changed years ago when our noise ordinance was that you should keep noise reasonable. And per the judge and our then police chief, Jeff Bowman, apparently there is not a definition for reasonable anymore. So we changed the ordinance. The other part of that ordinance is it was coming from a barking dog situation, and our old ordinance said that thou shalt not have a barking dog. And also the judge was not very particular. He was not interested in assisting us through that process with that kind of ordinance. So we changed it to have a decibel level. And the decibel levels are set up to certain times, so people can do work around their house and not get into a situation. We use a decibel meter to measure that sound, and we measure the sound from where the complainant is claiming that that they are being inconvenienced. And it's pretty amazing on how the decibel levels drop very quickly with distance with the noise amount. So even though somebody was being quite loud next door, the decibel level really didn't pick that up. We also have a provision in there that the decibel levels need to remain at a certain level for about 20 minutes. So it's a bit of an enforcement issue to where we have a police officer there with a meter measuring. We haven't had any cases to really run through that since it's been in place, which is probably for about 8 years at least. So that's the situation with the noise ordinance that we have. We do have one. There are measurements, and I'm not sure how pickleball would register that. We haven't run a test on.
Chad, what is the number, the DBA number?
John.
John, I'm not sure. I don't have that in front of me, but I can look that up and we'll get that to you folks to continue the conversation.
Chad,
Garrett,
Continue.
whoa, guys, Garrett's had his hand up. Garrett,
Hey, I was just gonna say that one thing I forgot to mention is just that when we started the conversation, I was thinking like a reasonable next step would be for you guys to decide whether you want staff to bring back some information on what's in our current ordinance, like you're starting to do now, and maybe what a few other cities have done to represent sort of a few different approaches for you to start thinking about. Or to do nothing, or suggest that Mr. Graff talk about it with city council. But definitely, like, you don't need to decide tonight if you think that the solution is to prohibit pickleball in the R1 zone. Like that's a very specific solution to be driving at right off the bat. But we're happy to put some information on paper for you and to continue the conversation, for example, is one way
Okay.
of thinking about it.
okay. Eric, you've got your hand up.
thank you, Jenny. So I appreciate what Garrett just said, and I think we need to address the issue. I think
You muted yourself.
no, I'm not on mute. Do you
You
not hear?
froze yourself. You're muted.
I hear Commissioner Eric right
How-
now.
is it- how's
I hear
this?
you, I hear you fine.
Okay,
You killed the
And-
set.
Oh, there.
okay, do they hear me in the?
Now, we're okay, now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate what Garrett just said, and I do think we should address the issue. I think it's appropriate issue for us to examine. And we should look at it from whatever angles that are appropriate, be it an outright ban in the R1 zone, or whether it's something where we amend the noise ordinance, if that was possible, or if we have a nuisance ordinance, does it belong there? And to look for examples. Terry provided in his letter that he suggests that West Lynn, Bend, and Lake Oswego have all closed courts. There's stuff out there in the world that maybe we can model things after, should we choose to. So I think we should take Garrett up on his offer and let him bring back to us examples and suggestions of ways in which community can address this. I personally find pickleball noise objectionable, but I side with Emerson also that it's, one man's meat is another man's poison. Terry stated he doesn't mind if people are playing basketball or playing in a swimming pool, but some other neighbor might be opposed to those activities. So I think we have to be careful which activities specifically we're going to prohibit because we personally don't like them, or a particular citizen doesn't like them. But we need to have something that's broad-based and fair to everybody, no matter what activity they're going to engage in. So I'd encourage us to have Garrett bring us examples of how other cities have dealt with this and what options we might have.
Okay, John, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I in general agree with Emerson's view that prohibiting specific homeowners' activities is not something I would like to see done. And I'm probably closer to the pickleball courts currently in the public ones than anybody here. And do find it extremely annoying, but you get used to it. But, I certainly respect that Terry is not looking forward to this. And I think that there could be other ways to address it. And so I agree with Eric's perspective that we should let Garrett do the work. I did do a little bit of research on the Lake Oswego one because I saw that in Terry's note, and that was surrounded closing public courts. It didn't have anything specifically to do around private residential courts that I'm aware of. But nonetheless, let's let Garrett do his work and find what options we've got. And I did do a little bit of online research about the noise of pickleball, and it's apparently around 70 dBA at 100 feet. And that's fairly loud, so it might be already restricted if we knew what the ordinance said. So.
Fine. Okay, thank you. I know the ordinance, I've seen the ordinance before. I just know to find it. You never find it in a hurry. So Garrett, I think generally we'd agree we would like more information, bring us some examples of what other communities have done and how they've addressed it, because we need to start someplace. And anytime we have changes to zoning, as Terry knows, it's a process. We have to have a public hearing and those kind of things. We need to have something actual, a real thing. So Garrett, come back to us with, we'd like to know about other communities, how they've addressed this, right? What else would we like to know? Anything else?
I'm just kind of curious if there's any noise dampening material that could be put on the fence around the pickleball.
Okay,
That would help,
well,
or even if it was required to have some kind of noise dampening ceiling.
yeah, we do have restrictions on fences, but,
Jenny, I have a question about.
yes,
If, as we know this, if potentially changing the zoning ordinance takes, that could be up to 4 or 5 months, right?
it could be, it doesn't have to be, it can be.
So then let's just say it's 4 months, whatever, but the neighbors come in and build it, this weekend.
I know.
So then would that, where does that leave the ordinance versus that particular court?
Because of what you talked about, and I've thought about this, is then it may be such that the option we'd have to look at would be some kind of nuisance ordinance or noise ordinance or something else.
Cause they
But we can't-
grandfathered in.
Well, but that property has got they're putting up a 12-foot fence and R1 can have a 6-foot fence, so
Right,
they're already, you know, cracking the code with the way they're approaching their property. So anyway.
my curiosity, Chad, is that a vacation rental or is it? No, okay. I was just curious. Okay, so Garrett, give you something to take up your spare time. How's that? Oh, okay. Yes, Eric?
Just want to point out to Garrett, of course, we want to address specifically issues communities dealt with pickleball on private property, not on municipal property. And also with regard to noise dampening, I happen to know in the world of pickleball, there are noise reduction paddles as a solution to this.
And
don't know. What's
and
that?
balls as well.
Oh, and balls perhaps, right. So it might have to do with the equipment more than muffling from fences. And I don't know if we can dictate that to a private property owner, but it is a way to potentially dampen noise. So I don't know how successful it is. I just know it exists.
That came up when we had the last public hearing on the pickleball courts, what the things to dampen. Okay, so that's what we will do.
And I just want to be clear, this is only pickleball. This has nothing to do with tennis, basketball,
I understand.
whatever kids want to do is pickleball.
It's pickleball specific. We got it. All right. Moving on, any concerns of the commission? Any concerns? We will.
Eric has one.
Eric, I'm sorry, Eric.
That's okay. Jenny, I do have a concern. I have a concern about the way we're handling and addressing the minutes and the edits therein. And I just kind of went along to go along tonight and voted to approve these minutes.
Yes.
But I found an inordinate number of misuse of pronouns. So I don't want to be such a stickler. I don't know quite what our role is here. I called Angelina on the phone earlier this week, I think, or maybe even the end of last, but she was out of the office.
She's sick.
Yep. Okay. So I didn't get to address it with her. That might have solved the problem. But I spoke to Christy. I told her why I was calling, and she said, well, you know, the city council minutes at city council, they just handle edits therein in the meeting. And I thought, well, yeah, that's what we've been doing. And when there's just 1 or 2 or 3 small changes to make, we bring those up during the meeting and it's not a big deal. But Jennifer brought it up tonight that she had found a few, and apparently she addressed those with Angelina. I found more than a dozen misstated pronouns and the same issues that Jennifer found. And I don't know how important it is that we have every T crossed and every I dotted so that there are no, so to speak, typos or misrepresentations at all in the minutes. I'm not quite sure how we should be handling this. Should we be going through it at each meeting like this and correct them? Should I have made a greater effort to submit it to Angelina before the meeting? What is our specific protocol for this?
If I could just comment, I have found Angelina.
Oh, John, let me call on you, please. John. Go ahead.
I found Angelina very responsive. I mean, I don't know why there were so many this time. I found a couple, I didn't find that many, but I didn't go through it as thoroughly as you did. And I sent them to her and she made the correction and sent out the correction within a few hours. So I think it's incumbent upon us to send her corrections as we find them, and she'll fix them. And then we don't need to waste meeting time on the subject.
I originally started the consent agenda because we could spend a lot of our valuable time walking through all the corrections. Maybe this is something that I can, Chad and Angeline, we can talk about and see what would be a good approach. Maybe we need to. She needs to send them out before then and have someone proof them for her. But let's figure it out. How is that, Eric? So we don't have these, because yes, the wrong pronouns does bother me.
Okay,
I
I just went
several
through
times.
my minutes. I circled almost 24 misstated words here. So no, and no, not trying to cast aspersions on
No,
anyone
I know that.
whatsoever. I'd like the idea that she send out draft minutes so that they're not the official minutes, and send out the minutes as draft, because many of us are reading them, and we're reading them carefully, and we're there to help make the minutes correct. So we send out a document and call it a draft, just maybe a little ahead of time of when we normally get our documents. Then those of us on the commission that want to take the time and effort will make our corrections, and we'll make sure to get in touch with Angelina ahead of time so that when she sends out the minutes, they've already been drafted and proofed. So maybe
Yes.
we should do it that way.
Yes, Jennifer.
I just wanted to add, I checked in with Angelina, and she was so busy that she couldn't get these done until the absolute deadline, when she had to post them as legal, the timing.
Mhm.
And my question, Eric, I did see all the pronouns too. My question is, do these minutes have to be this detailed? This is a lot of work for her.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do need to be this
Yes.
detailed. Okay.
Planning commission meetings. Garrett, correct me if I'm wrong, because I understand they need to be detailed. There's also a tape recording done of the meeting, so they can be referred back to its any later date someone might want to check something. Is that correct?
You're muted, Garrett.
I actually don't know if they need to be this
Mhm.
detailed, and I wouldn't necessarily know. And that's another thing that I'm happy to just give you a quick report back on what like the actual statute is. And then there's a question of like whether a land use attorney would advise you like, yeah, you should really make them this detailed. And there's a reason we go beyond the minimum here, you know.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting question. I actually don't know the answer, considering that it is recorded anyway. in a
So
video
we'll do
format.
some follow-up. We'll do
Yeah.
some follow-up.
Yeah.
Okay? And we have something on the agenda for next meeting in July? Chad?
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. It's 6:55, we're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good Fourth.
Okay,
Be
thank
happy,
you.
be safe.
Thanks, Garrett. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah,
Good night.
bye-bye.
Oh, I did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about your buddy.
Yeah. ORS 119.6.
Yeah.
Meeting minutes must at least. All the members who are present, all motions, proposals, resolutions, orders, ordinances, and measures. Results of all votes, substance of any discussion on matter, and a reference to any document discussed.
Yeah, see, it's the substance thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a judgment call.
And the minutes have always been like that for the 10 years I've been on this commission. And I don't know if they were quite that detailed in Seaside, but yet they were detailed.
Yeah, they don't have to be verbatim, but they must summarize the discussion.
You must summarize.
I'll work with her.
Yeah,
And all the minutes are drafts. We're not giving them out to the public until they're approved.
right,
Other than through this
right.
meeting packet, so, I think that we can make some. I know we can make some, so.
I know that she did that, the staff and stuff, John.
Just didn't know because the recording existed, better.
Yeah, no, it's, there's only certain keys that have to be detailed and planning commission is one of them.
And I did think it was our first application regarding the tree ordinance. And so it was really important to get
Well,
that down, you know.
We went around in circles because the tree ordinances, we had it, and the tree ordinance, no one can hear me, that the council came up with.
Here, it's the council came up with, had some issues, and we were finished with.
But that's the whole point, they made it more. They made it things like, okay, like Peter said, the solar thing, well, that's kind of,
Yeah,
solar?
and that was never brought up until,
On the tree, on tree lines, remember, that was one of the issues
I
that,
actually found that ordinance back, and I think it's like 603, 300 ordinances back, and I have it out, but I haven't read it yet, but there were reasons, I think it was more about solar. Power.
yeah.
well, I do too. I'm absolutely sure that's
But
exactly
then
what it was.
all of the applicants were like, I'd really like to have sun on my yard.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's the problem,
Yeah.
because I was absolutely sure it had to do with solar panels.
Yeah. I did too.
Yeah, we went through, I remember just before I started, they went through about 2 years worth of discussions, ordinances, resolutions, all sorts of things on wind. Cause that was the next new thing.
But the
To
thing
this day, we haven't had one.
with the land next to Daughters, which looks like it's still, nothing's happened there unless I'm just missing it all. The lady that was in there before, she kind of just shoved the line. Non-conforming use and I'll do what I want to is closer to what she did. Or that's